A scaly biped, the Tarrasque is 50 foot tall and 70 feet long, weighing hundreds of tons. It carries itself like a bird of prey, leaning forward and using its powerful lashing tail for balance. Its cavernous maw yawns wide enough to swallow all but the largest of creatures, and so great is its hunger that it can devour the entire populations of towns. The destructive potential of the Tarrasque is so vast that some cultures incorporate the monster into religious doctrine, weaving its sporadic appearance into stories of divine judgment and wrath. Legends tell how the Tarrasque slumbers in secret layers beneath the earth, remaining in a dormant state for decades or centuries. When it awakens in answer to some inscrutable cosmic call, it rises from the depths to obliterate everything in its path. Hello, lore nerds. That there is part of the 5th edition Monster Manual entry on the Tarrasque, which is today's topic. It goes without saying that the Tarrasque is one of the most legendary monsters in D&D, being part of the game since 1st edition. While not everyone has encountered the Tarrasque in a campaign, almost everyone who has played Dungeons & Dragons knows of it. But how much does the average person know? Do they know of how powerful it is? Do they know what its stat block is like? How about the lore? Well, today, the lore of the Forgotten Realms Tarrasque and its abilities and such is what I will be covering. Let's begin with a description of the creature. Like stated before, it is about 50 feet tall and 70 feet long, weighing hundreds of tons, said to be around the size of an ancient dragon. It has a pair of spikes atop its head and a massive, ever-hungry mouth. It has thick skin as well as a powerful carapace on its back. It has two small eyes, although these were not vital to its sense of perception. In fact, one could blind those eyes and the Tarrasque would be unhindered. Due to its low intelligence, really the only weakness of this behemoth, it can't really be considered evil. It does not have the necessary understanding to make moral judgments. Instead, it is better to think of the Tarrasque as a force of nature, a natural disaster on legs. The Tarrasque features many terrifying abilities. We will be discussing many that don't appear in the 5th edition stat block, as the 5e Tarrasque was nerfed quite a bit, which I might discuss later. Firstly, it can completely ignore any natural resistances a creature has, as its attacks cut right through a target's defenses. It could hamper any creature within 200 feet's ability to fly, reducing their speed and limiting their altitude to 20 feet, keeping them within the range of the Tarrasque. It should be noted this is one of the major nerfs of the 5th edition Tarrasque, as there's no way to combat ranged attackers, and so many people who wish to defeat the Tarrasque, especially at early levels, simply grab a magical weapon and fly up out of its range, and the Tarrasque is helpless to stop them. However, with this ability that older editions of Tarrasques had, ranged attackers were nowhere near as effective. Merely being within the presence of a Tarrasque can paralyze a person with fear, making them unable to move as the beast devours them and everything around them. It is also immune to many of the negative effects of fire, poison, and disease, and is just generally very difficult to injure. Some even say that it is immune to all forms of psionic attacks. Then there is, of course, its infamous immortality. No attack can deal lethal damage to the Tarrasque. It is completely immune to any effect that would instantly kill it, instead taking enough non-lethal damage to bring it below 0 hit points. It is immune to any effect that would inflict incurable or bleeding wounds. When brought below 0 hit points, it simply slumbers beneath the earth until recovered. Legends say that the only way to kill it is to bring it below 0 hit points and then use a wish spell to keep it dead, which is certainly easier said than done, and it would be easy enough for someone to simply use another wish to undo your one. It can even regrow lost limbs and body parts in 1d6 minutes. Another well-known feature of the Tarrasque is its carapace. On its back is a tough, shell-like carapace that provides excellent protection from spells. In 5th edition, any magic missile, line spell, or any spell requiring a ranged attack roll triggers a d6 roll. On a 1 to 5, the Tarrasque is unaffected. On a 6, the spell is reflected right back at the caster. This renders many spells essentially useless against it. So now that we know about what it can do, what is the creature's history and origins? Unfortunately, this is a subject that is not well known. Most people around the world have little clue of where it came from and often blame something along the lines of a group of evil wizards. Much of this lack of information comes from the fact that the Trask rarely leaves any witnesses. Some scholars say that it was made as a weapon by the Primordials during the Dawn War as a way to undo the stability of the world that the gods ruled over. Luckily, they made only one. Others say that the Trask is a curse from the gods, and another theory states that the Trask comes from another world entirely, named Falx. This world has many creatures that are either the same species or something very, very similar, and the Trask of our world may have been summoned from Falx. I don't know about you, but the idea of an entire planet of Trasks is absolutely horrifying to me. While we do not have a solid origin for the Trask, we do have many myths and legends from history. An ancient human tribe from the land of Katashaka has an interesting tale. It is said that in ancient times they worshipped a unique Tarrasque known as the Sleeper, offering her sacrifices. One day the Sleeper desired vengeance against an ancient enemy, and so summoned the tribe's greatest warriors. She suffered defeat and went into a rampage before falling asleep once more. She went on 23 such rampages until a sacrifice was imbued with magic and the blessing of Uptau. This sacrifice used the magical power to slay the Sleeper. Interestingly, this does suggest that at one point there was more than one Tarrasque, if this legend is at all true. In the final years of Netheril, the archwizard Karsus requested the Tarrasque's pituitary gland as a spell component for Karsus's avatar. A gold dragon named Draco Nobelin provided adventurers working with Karsus a special liquid to keep the Tarrasque asleep during the process, and it worked. Aside from these, the Tarrasque has been generally known to rouse from slumber every few months or so and rampage across an area, often destroying entire cities for a handful of days. Luckily, the world is large enough that a certain area, such as a group of towns or whatnot, is unlikely to be hit more than once every few centuries or millennia. Still, it is an unstoppable force of nature that inspires myths of dread and destruction. So that is all for today, folks, and I hope you enjoyed this dive into the Tarrasque. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.